Welcome to the Rural Pastor Podcast with your host, Pastor Andy Addis.
You plant the seeds in the ground, though the fields have long been brown. But Lord, when will your harvest come in? You're giving all you've got to give in the place where you've been sent. But will this labor make much difference in the end? Will no one ever know? Sometimes you feel so all alone. Like the prophet Jeremiah, you may be the one to go to the dying and the broken with a message of hope. To that church on the corner of that forgotten little town, with a room of empty pews where his love can still be found. You may never know of all the seeds you sow, but it just takes one willing soul to make him known.
One willing soul. I am so glad to join you on another season, kicking off our latest episode and our latest season of the Rural Pastor Podcast. And I am joined in studio on this occasion by the rural specialist himself, the great Dr. Kyle Bueermann.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's good. I'm excited to be in the studio and with you in person, and it's always fun. We get to spend a little bit of time together.
It's a lot of fun, and the only time we've been in studio is when it was in somebody else's studio.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, this is actually a part of my home base, and you've come up from Texas to hang out with us in Kansas for a while, so we thought we'd shoot a couple of episodes, and it's primarily audio, but this is one of those weird ones where we're going to have a video option if you go to the social media. And
one of these days, I want you to show the behind the scenes of your fancy podcast.
Oh, it's a mess.
Because I had no idea. I've seen the videos. I was like, man, that's such a cool spot. All the rural pastors will really appreciate this. It's a craft room.
It's the kids.
There's a washer and dryer over there, and then shelves of all the
cotton balls.
Yes, cotton balls and pipe cleaners, and it's the church craft room that you've just.
We have a corner. We have a corner.
This is outstanding.
And we're almost on each other's lap to do it.
I'm so happy that this is where the studio is, and it's not in like a slick, room dedicated.
Don't ruin the magic. But actually, for rural, that is the magic,
yes,
isn't it?
We're
making it happen. And I just want everybody to know that it is officially not a craft room and a studio. It is our studio in their craft room.
Craft room.
Yes, they want to make sure that we never forget that's what this is. That's what this is most of the time. Man, so good to see you, and we're just loving rural work. We've kicked off the 2026 season of Rural Summits, and so there may be one coming to you. We're talking this year about a ministry co-op, and the reason that we're doing this particular episode is that we are following up. If you caught the first episode of the season, this is more of a regular. It was interviews with guys from that particular rural summit in Salina. But one of the things that came about on that meeting when we did the Q&A and panel time was there were questions about worship.
Yeah.
And worship in general in the rural church is very often just a difficult place to be because we want quality. And we also want quantity. We want to be able to do certain things. Yeah. And very often that's just not a possibility, isn't it?
Right. That's true. Yeah. So, we live in this weird age where worship music is more accessible than it's ever been. Right. Not just through, radio stations, K-Love, or out here in Kansas, KJIL, right?
That's right. It's a network radio station. It's cool.
Right.
You have to change stations as you cross the state, but you can keep with.
But with the streaming platforms and everything, folks have more access to really high quality music.
Right.
And so I think sometimes folks just assume, well, that's what we listen to on the radio, or that's what I listen to in my car. That's what we need to do in church, right? The problem is, particularly in rural contexts, you're not going to be able to pull off the sound you hear on the radio.
Oh, no.
nor should you try to pull that off.
Or feel bad that you can't.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And so I think part of it is just understanding the different contexts, right, between like music you enjoy listening to in your car versus what actually serves us well as congregations. And then asking the question, how do we do congregational singing, congregational worship well?
I think you're dividing it well. Now, I'm not a worship guy. I've always liked music. I played jazz sax, which doesn't have a whole lot of application in the rural church worship setting. But before we get into this, the reason I want to do this is you have just an incredible short list for pastors. And I believe this, a couple of things. Number one, I think pastors are the primary worship leaders.
Right. Absolutely.
Even if you have somebody singing the song, you have a song leader, or you have a worship pastor. The pastor of that local congregation is still the primary worship leader. He's got to be in charge. And then I have kind of just, and I'm really interested for your honest feedback on this. There are some exceptional worship resources out there that you could put something on a screen, sing off the wall, and the music is great. The lyrics are awesome. The presentation is wonderful. But here's my thought. That mediocre live worship is still better than excellent video worship.
Absolutely.
Yet, really bad worship is worse than recorded worship.
Yeah.
There's a dividing line that's a little bit about having to understand just where you are. And I want you to give your honest response, and I know I'm doing something horrible here. Yes, there are bad expressions of musicality. And I know the heart might be right, but you can't expect a visitor to get the heart of somebody that you've loved for a long time. So that's kind of my dividing line. And again, interested. Mediocre worship live is better than recorded. Yeah. But if it's just not good, then recorded isn't a bad option.
Right. The key principle here is whatever you do, are you able to do it well, right? Not perfectly. It doesn't have to be polished. Doing something well doesn't mean it has to be slick. It just means it needs to be competently done, right? Mm-hmm. So, your musicians, if you have somebody playing the piano, if you have somebody playing the guitar, do they at least kind of know what they're doing, right?
That's right.
Do they know, as a guitar player, like, can they competently strum the instrument in rhythm, in a way that makes sense for corporate worship? Mm-hmm. Can your singers carry a tune? And there's some ways to address that, and we'll get into that in a minute too. But again, it doesn't have to be done professionally. Mm-hmm. It does need to be done well. And if you look at what you have in your church and you say we can't do it well, because the last thing you want, mediocre worship. It's
still worship.
Yes, it's still worship. Bad worship is a distraction from true worship.
And I think that's perfect, because that's the dividing line. You say, well, how do I know if it's bad or if I just don't like it? If it's a distraction instead of leading people to worship, then it's not worship.
Yeah.
And so we have to look at that. Now, when I said I'm not a worship guy, the reason Kyle's the star of this show on this episode is you are a worship guy. You've done that for years.
I have. I was a music minister, youth minister, back when that was the combination that everybody was, right?
Yeah, that's how you were bivocational.
So I've been leading worship in some capacity or another since I was about 16. I won't say how many years it's a lot. It's a lot of years. And even now still lead worship for our youth ministry in our church, and then fill in on occasion at churches that need it, or fill in on when our worship leaders.
So you're not speaking out of like I would be, which is just opinion. Right. You're speaking out of some experience.
Some experience, and having made some really poor decisions through the years. That's mostly what I speak out of now. So
okay, so before we get into the nitty gritty, when you say that the option for some recorded worship, some singing off the wall, that's how I heard a guy in Florida say, you're off the wall singers.
Off the wall.
That there are some decent resources, and can you point us in that direction? We're going to talk about how to do well live, but if you were to go down the road, what are some of the places that you would investigate?
Sure. So if you were looking into putting, kind of those package resources, our friend Nathan Drake, through his organization Reawaken Hymns, has some really good. Again, it's in the name. It's hymns. It's all hymns,
and it's simple.
Yes, it's simple. And he's got options of, like, you can just throw up on the wall on your video system the lyrics with like a background and he's leading. There are some where he's on screen if you want that leader. It's got the lyrics there as well.
Right.
Just stuff with him on his guitar. He's got some full band arrangements, but it's all very simple, but really, really good. And again, it's going to be hymns, all public domain stuff that your folks will know, solid stuff. On the more contemporary side, there are a couple of options. WorshipLyricVideos.com has some resources.
WorshipLyricVideos.com.
WorshipLyricVideos.com
has,
and there would be hymns on there. There would be some of the stuff that you'll hear on K-Love and stuff like that. And then Song Select, which if you don't know what that is, someone in your church knows what Song Select is because they got to report their CCLI licensing stuff.
That's right.
But Song Select recently released a video section on their website as well, songselect.com. And I think that subscription starts at like $200 a year based on the size. It's based on the size of your church, but you can go in again, download lyrics. It'll have music to it. And I have not, let me put my caveat, I have not messed with those personally, but it says that they're in singable keys. And so
I've heard nothing but positive reviews from the people that I know that are using it.
And if folks in your church most likely know what Song Select is because that's where we download chord charts and all kinds of stuff. So this is a really interesting piece that they've added.
I love that. So those are some options that are for singing off the wall.
Yep.
That's what they are. There's a bit of a danger. You talked about CCLI, which is a licensing service. Yep. Some of us are still just taking stuff off YouTube, and tell us why that's trouble.
Well, it's illegal because those videos are not licensed for that, and
to show in a crowd.
So let me tell you about it. I won't say the name of the church, but I was in a church recently, and they pulled videos off of YouTube, and they did not have a YouTube Premium subscription. So when they hit play on a video, do you know what happened?
Oh, they got commercials.
Yes, there was an ad for about a minute. And look, let me just say, like, there was nothing inappropriate in the ads, but you have absolutely zero control over what
it was so awkward, I'm sure.
And so we're like
just
the congregation of this is like a launch service, so I mean it was kind of a big deal. And for a minute, everybody in the congregation is just sitting there listening to the ad. And
I'm just hurting for you.
It was cringe. Like it was just they're going,
bad.
oh, there are options, people. There are options. So,
but it is illegal. I mean,
yes,
and that's a hardship. And like you said, I didn't know it was. Well, now you do.
Yes, now you do.
And the problem is that not only is it not the best to use, it takes a pretty minimal investment to do it legally and to do it
well. And here's the thing, right? So if you are pulling just a Hillsong or a Chris Tomlin video off of YouTube, that video was not meant to be used in corporate worship.
That's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So the resources, Reawaken Hymns, Worship Lyric Videos, Song Select, these resources are curated to be used in congregational worship.
That's right.
And I promise that makes a difference in the way the video's set up, in the way your folks are going to be able to interact with the music.
You as a worship leader are saying there's a difference.
There is a difference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the good, the bad, and the ugly of singing off the wall. I'm going to keep saying that because that was one of the funniest things I heard in a while. And it was, by the way, an old Methodist is how he described himself, talking about you new Baptists singing off the wall. So I thought that was great.
That's great.
But the reason that I asked you to be a part of this, all that's preamble. You gave such solid advice to the church, the leader, the pastor, the song leader for making good choices when you do live. Yeah. And I just want you to walk us through that. So I'm opening the door. If you would let us know those things.
And again, if you're listening to this as a pastor and you're not the musical worship leader, this still applies because, as you said, you need to be a part of that process of selecting the songs. It doesn't mean you have to micromanage and you need to personally select the songs, but it does mean you need to teach whoever is leading your people in singing that these are important things. And it's a simple rubric. There's three things.
They
all start with an S because
you're Baptist.
Yes, that's right. So
it's almost a sermon.
So the first question and the most important question is this sound? Is what we are singing true? Is what we are singing biblical?
Theologically,
Yes.
doctrinally, is
Yes.
this good to be singing?
And I would say too, is there some level of theological depth to what we're singing? Right. That's one thing about the hymns. In the hymnals that we have, there is a theological review. So if you pick up a Baptist hymnal, there's a theological review that happened selecting those songs.
Right.
If you're listening to K-Love and you're just saying, "Ooh, we heard this song, we loved it," or this came up on Apple Music, there is not a theological review that's on your Apple Music worship playlist.
Yes.
Right. It's not saying that everything on there is bad. There's good stuff that's being written.
Sure.
But
just because it's catchy doesn't mean it should be used in
and
worship.
just because it's on the charts doesn't mean it should be used in worship.
I'm gonna get my worship on.
Well, listen,
What?
I'm a huge Stephen Curtis Chapman fan.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
have been for years. His music, not all his music is suitable in corporate worship, right? It's great music. It might be sound, but there's another piece to it, right? It's not.
But he's a performer
yes.
and not a worship
Yes.
leader. Yeah.
So, but easily the most important question: is it sound? Is what we're singing true? Number 2, is it simple?
Okay.
And what I mean by that, musically, is it something that your people will know? Okay. And I got this idea from I haven't interviewed Keith Getty. Mark Clifton has.
Oh, wow.
I wish I. So it's like
If you don't know who that is a hymn singing legend. right
a
there.
hymn writing legend.
Yes.
So 2 degrees to Keith Getty. All right. But on a podcast he did with Mark Clifton and Tom Rayner, he said that at their church they have a catalog of about 50 songs that they sing, which blew my mind because Keith Getty's written more than 50 hymns.
Sure.
But in their regular rotation they have about 50. And what that does is that makes sure that the songs they sing, their people know.
Wow.
Again, when you pull something that you heard on the radio and you thought, man, that sounds great. I think we should sing this. Your people aren't going to know it. And so if you get frustrated because your people aren't singing along, it's probably because they don't know the song.
Yeah.
And so, man, that sounds boring. Listen, it's not boring when you get a congregation of folks singing, because you can throw up the latest song that you've heard on the radio. Nobody's singing it. You sing "How Great Thou Art," and they sing, and there's a difference in the room. It makes a difference when people are able to worship. And look, music is such a big part of our lives, right? That when folks encounter words and tunes that they know and that have been deeply ingrained in them from the time they were children, it makes a big difference.
Can I ask a question as a non-worship leader? As just a congregant, sometimes we have a simple song, a song that we all know, "How Great Thou Art," something like that, and yet the person singing, they have skill, right? They can sing, but they want to show us that, and they start going off on, I don't know what you even call it, but it's not the same tune that I'm used to, and then I have to stop because I can't keep up. Is that simple what you're talking about?
Sunday morning congregational worship is not the time for you to audition for American Idol.
It's so good.
Your job as and pastors, again, you need to know this because you may need to coach your song leaders. Their job is not to show off how great their voice is. Their job is to invite the congregation to worship collectively.
Right. And they have to lead that.
Yes. Now, again, you need someone that can sing. At least, I mean, they don't need
Carry
to
a tune.
they don't need to be a professional singer. They need to be able to carry a tune to be able to do that, or otherwise it becomes a distraction. But yeah, that's not their time to. And honestly, I think that side of it has a lot to do with the song selection, because people think, "Ooh, I can show off my vocal range.
I can
on
really
here."
handle this one." Yeah.
That makes it not about worship. That makes it idolatry, and that's a sin. Sorry, was that too harsh?
No. I mean, it goes back. I know we're only on the second of 3, but the reality is, you and I both grew up in churches where we did specials.
Oh,
right?
I sang many specials.
Well, and I hope you're
Lord.
not in this category. I wouldn't think you would be, but there were times that my only thought during the special was not how much should I give or man, this song is great. It was this is not special.
Yeah. No. No. And as I've made poor decisions through the years, both in the songs that I sing as specials, as a worship leader, in the people and the songs that people sang during specials, where it became uncomfortable. And as a pastor, for a while in a culture where specials were a thing, boy, it was hard to preach after a special.
Yeah.
Where you had to,
Where do we go with
I have
this?
to rescue this room. So again, sound, is it true? Is it simple? Is it something that our people know?
We're leading people, not
Yes.
putting on a show.
Yes. And then the last thing is simply this: is it singable? Which is part of this bleeds over into the simple side. But by this, I primarily mean, is it in a key that normal people can sing? The way I describe this is, if you're pulling a Shane and Shane song, which they have some great stuff,
Oh, yeah.
but if you're trying to sing it in the key of Shane and Shane, that's a mistake.
They have their own key, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And listen, I can say this because I've heard them say it. The Lord gave them ladies' voices. Okay, so they will joke about that, and even the Shanes will say, don't try to sing this in the keys that we sing it in, because that's what works for their voices. Find it in a key that is comfortable for your people, especially for non-singers. High keys, it's uncomfortable, it's painful.
That's right.
And so again, it's not to show off your vocal range as the leader, right? It's to get people to sing, the congregation to sing. So that has to deal primarily with keys, but also with rhythms. The hymns, one of the reasons that they're so easily singable and people know them is they were written with rhythms that made sense for corporate worship.
Right.
And this goes back to the songs that you hear on the radio. Those rhythm for a solo singer or a band that's performing it is not meant to be a congregational song. That there's going to be weird rhythms. And so if you see that your folks are having a hard time, like, getting the feel for how a song should go, it probably tells you something that maybe that's not the best one. It could work great in some contexts. You can just say, that song doesn't work here.
And
with
sometimes
our
you don't
people.
know until you've done it.
That's right.
Right? So,
That's right.
like, if you do something, you go, well, that was not great.
Yes.
Failing is not, trying something that didn't
That's
work.
right.
Failing is doing it again
That's
after
right.
you realize that it didn't
and,
work.
And listen, particularly if you're in a church with older folks, getting to travel around and the job that I have now and experience a lot of different churches, there are a lot of younger song leaders that are trying to force a style of worship on an older generation.
Yep.
Listen, again, this goes back to, it's not about you. It's not about you being able to show off. It's not about your worship leader being able to show off. If you get up there and you sing, I stand amazed in the presence and how great thou art, and you close with the doxology, your people are going to sing. And I guarantee if you have a large segment of older folks in your congregation, they're going to walk out of there going, I worshiped today.
You will have led them in
Yes.
worship. Yeah.
Yes. And well, we've got to do something to reach the younger people. Man, listen, you get older folks singing and you get songs that the congregation knows that sings, that will make a difference.
That's why I love this. Solid, simple, and singable. This is not just for the worship pastor. This is for the primary worship leader. This is for the pastor to help make evaluations. Now, let's just say that, first of all, if you got an axe to grind and maybe you haven't liked the personality of or the songs of or the direction of, this is not given to you as a hatchet to go in and just chop somebody's ministry and somebody's service up. But it is a good system to begin now to evaluate. Maybe imagine coming into your volunteer staff meeting and say, hey, I think things have been going so well, but we've got this one song I've been concerned about. Yeah. Here's a rubric. Yeah. Can we run it through this?
And what's great about that, I've talked a lot about hymns because in rural context, we're going to we work with a lot of congregations primarily composed of older generations, right? That rubric works in a completely contemporary setting.
Yeah.
You can apply that same, is it sound? Is it simple? Is it singable? And you can do that exclusively with songs that have been written in the last 10 years.
I love that.
So I'm not harping on one particular music style or the other. I'm just saying these are things that you can ask every week as you're planning out the service. Right? Do these three things apply here?
One last thing on this particular episode. If you're a pastor and maybe you've got some things that need to be adjusted in your worship ministry, you've got mediocre to good worship and you want to keep it that way, but the problem is there's some things that need to be addressed and you're worried that addressing them might just tank everything.
Yeah.
What's your advice to that guy? How do you handle things? What is the road that needs to be taken to make some adjustments?
In the work of revitalization and replanning, we talk about tactical patience, right? Now, if the songs that you're singing are theologically wrong, that's probably...
just handle that.
Yeah, that's something that needs to be, again, if the songs that you're singing are not biblically accurate, that's a problem that you can't wait on.
Right.
If you would prefer to move your worship in a different direction, move slowly.
Make sure you lead sheep and not drive cattle.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Have tactical patience. That doesn't mean that you just keep kicking the can down the road, but it means you use a lot of wisdom as you implement those changes, right? That you care deeply for the people who are involved, because, man, for folks who lead worship, there's often a great love for it.
Yeah.
A personal ministry that's attached to that. And so the last thing you want to do is when you're seeking to change something in the church, feel like you're attacking somebody's
right.
What they would probably describe as a calling and character. You don't want it to feel like a personal attack. So lean deeply into those relationships. And again, lead sheep, don't drive cattle, right? And so maybe there's some things you would change next week if you could. It might take you 2 years to get there. To get there
in a loving, gentle way.
Yes, in a way that brings people along rather than, you can change a whole lot with a hand grenade, right?
That's right. And change it fast.
Yes. But there's a lot of destruction that happens when you do that as well.
Yeah. I've watched guys who work with horses, and when a horse is frightened or angry or upset, the only way to approach them is slowly and gently.
Yep.
Slowly and gently. And I think we got some thoroughbreds in the church that are ready to run, but they might need to be approached slowly and gently to get that done. Man, this has been exceptional. Would you hang out and do another episode with us? Man, what a brilliant way to handle this. And don't forget that you have been given the calling that you've been given. You've got a position that God has put you in because He wants you there to do the work that He wants done in that space. We love you here at the Rural Pastor Podcast, and we believe this, that no one is serving in a place that God doesn't want them to be. You are a treasure, and we're here to support you. Love you guys much, and we'll see you again soon on another episode of the Rural Pastor Podcast. Love you guys. See you soon.
Like the prophet Jeremiah, you may be the one to go to the dying and the broken with a message of hope. To that church on the corner of that forgotten little town with a room of empty pews where His love can still be found. You may never know of all the seeds you sow, but it just takes one willing soul to make Him known.
Thank you for joining us on the Rural Pastor Podcast. Special thanks to Chosen Road for our incredible theme music and to 180 Digital for their corporate sponsorship and making all the technical things possible. Rural Church Leader, we want to remind you that your work is important, that you are important, and that you are not alone. See you again soon for another edition of the Rural Pastor Podcast.